Welcome, Corey Gil-Shuster, to Threads Culture Conversations 2025. We are very pleased to have you with us today, and we are very interested in your story. So, Corey, if you don't mind, we begin with your personal journey. As far as I know, you're Canadian. So, how did you end up in Israel?
I came when I was 19 after high school. I left Ottawa and I decided to go on a year abroad, study abroad program in Tel Aviv University. And that was my first time in Israel. And I didn't stay after that. I went back to Montreal and I studied at Concordia. But I kind of fell in love with the chaos of the Middle East.
Hmm. So I'm wondering, being a Canadian and living in the opposite of chaotic
Yeah.
situation, what was it in that chaos that you were intrigued about?
It was living in a place that was so radically different, where everyone is just always yelling at each other and screaming, and then you figure out once you understand the language that they're actually just talking, and that's the way it is, and that everything is possible, meaning you can get almost anything done if you are just insistent enough, or if you ask the right questions. That it's very, there are rules, but the rules are all, okay, we can bend the rules. Mostly for good things, sometimes for bad things too. And I just loved the chaos. I grew up in a house with a lot of chaos. I'm Jewish, and I have very colorful, interesting parents who make a lot of noise. In Ottawa, that is not a thing. That's not something people do. So I could both relate, but I couldn't understand it in the public. I couldn't understand it when you're going to the bus or you're in the supermarket or you're trying to get at the bank. It made no sense to me, but I still loved it. And it just was funny and interesting all the time, like being in a movie a little bit.
So about the ads project, that's very interesting. So how did you have this idea and what inspired you to begin this?
Okay, a few things happened. I lived in Israel for a while, and I lived in Israel during a time of a lot of violence towards Israelis. In the 90s, when Oslo was signed between Israelis and Palestinians, there was a group of Palestinians and then a group of Jews later, Israelis, who were very much against it. And so there was a lot of bus bombings and stabbings and shootings going on in Israel. And I couldn't understand, as a Canadian, if people are trying to make peace, why would there suddenly be a rise in violence? Why are so many people against this? I needed to understand this. We ended up leaving. We went back to Ottawa. And I studied in a program for conflict studies because I didn't even know what conflict resolution was. I was looking for the psychology of conflict because I wanted to put a framework around what I had experienced, at least on the Israeli side, to understand the mentality. I think I really got that from the program. It really helped. By the way, I work for a master's in conflict resolution now, so now I know much more what it's about. When I came back to Israel, I wanted to do something which was helpful for the conflict. And somebody actually said, because I got into an argument, because everyone outside thinks they know everything about Israel because they see it in the media, and they were completely wrong. And they said, "What are you going to do? Go ask people, like do a survey?" And it just flashed in my head. I have a video camera. Why am I not asking people? Why am I not recording the conversations I have? And then I thought it would make sense if I did it within the parameters of a question, because you know people in the Middle East, you get people talking, they'll talk forever. They won't stop. But within the confines of a question, once they answer the question, I can cut it off there. And I thought I'll get 8 to 10 people to answer questions that people want to know about. And that at least will show what the people on the ground think. And then I thought I'll do the same thing on the Palestinian side, and that will solve this mystery of how could people who were working towards peace go against peace and believe in suicide bombings, for example. So that's how it started. And I learned a lot. I knew the Israeli side pretty well because I'd lived in it and I speak Hebrew now. But for Palestinians, I had to completely learn the culture and how things work there. So it was really eye-opening for me.
And I'm wondering what has been your biggest challenge when you conduct your interviews? Is
Well,
there any?
on this Palestinian side, it's been understanding the mentality, because people, as I found out, I didn't think about this, but it's true. We all speak in slogans that we think mean something, and the person we're speaking to may have no idea what we mean. So people, Israelis, I'll give an example. Israeli Jews use the term uh, um, like chaos. They're doing chaos. They're making chaos. Balagan. I'm not even sure what language it's from because it's not Hebrew. And what they mean is they mean violence when they say that. So I kind of picked up on that over the years. When Palestinians would talk about, for example, occupation, we'll give that as an example. In my head as a Canadian, I thought they were talking about the West Bank and Gaza because that's how I thought about it as a Canadian. Turns out they were never talking about the West Bank and Gaza. They were talking about all the land. Israel doesn't exist for them. It's all occupation. So it took a while. Sometimes they use words, and I think they're talking about A, and they're really talking about something different. So I have to keep asking more and more questions to figure out what they're talking about. And after a while, you get better at it, obviously, when you understand the mentality and a culture and how people think, then you know, because then I'll check. I'll say, okay, what you mean is A, B, C. And they'll say yes or no. Because sometimes I'm wrong. That's obvious. We all could be wrong. Yes, there's a lot of misunderstandings. And that doesn't help that there's these two groups, Israelis and Palestinians. They don't understand each other at all. It's as if they're two completely different conflicts going on, and they don't know that about each other.
I'm wondering if there has been a memorable moment in your interviews that somebody said something and that affected you or impacted you. So can you
It's
share?
always the surprises because I make a lot of assumptions when I approach a person. I try to approach people where I don't know exactly what they're going to say, but I have a feeling, meaning they're going to be right wing or left wing or conservative or liberal, whatever. But you have a feeling. But sometimes people have said things that really surprise me, and it's usually something horrible and tragic, meaning they lost a loved one or they themselves were injured. I remember a Palestinian talking about how he doesn't want peace with Israelis and he was wearing sunglasses. And I said, but why? And he took off the sunglasses and he was missing an eye. And he said, this is why. This is what they did to me. And things like that. I had an Israeli woman whose daughter was killed in a terror attack. And that's why she didn't want to talk about it. And these are in videos. I don't remember exactly which videos, but these are in videos. And that always has a huge effect. And I hope to the viewer, it has an effect because it shows people are very affected no matter what your opinions are or who's pro this or anti that, whatever. People are really affected by this conflict and it's very tragic. So those are the things that always come through for me.
And how long you've been doing this Ask project?
Since 2012, spring 2012.
So has there been any shifts in people's opinions since then?
No.
Not really.
People always say, if I asked a question 10 years ago, ask again. I'm sure people will answer differently. No. I mean, I think that the wars, especially October 7th and the Gaza war, have created a real shift. In fact, I didn't want to, from October 7th until I think the end of November, almost 2 months, I don't think I went to film at all because I thought, what if this ends? Because when there's a war, people are much more angry. They're much more emotional on both sides. But it continued. So I continued to ask. Yes, I noticed that there's a shift rightwards, more conservatively for both sides in terms of they don't want peace on both sides because of the war.
So you've been living there for a long time. Can you imagine people eventually living in peace together?
Currently, not really. Nobody really, everybody wants peace, of course. Everybody wants peace, but everybody wants peace the way they want peace. And no one is really willing to give up because no matter what the situation is, when there's change involved, you have to change yourself as well. You have to change your values and your outlook and how you see things, and you have to give up on things that you didn't think you would give up on. And nobody really wants to do that. I'd say Israelis are more open to the idea of peace, but I call it lazy peace, meaning as long as they don't have to do anything, then sure, I'll take peace. Yeah, okay, they can have its state. What do I care? But they don't want to do anything. And Palestinians are in this idea that Israelis shouldn't exist. And so they don't want Israel to exist at all. So how can you have peace when I just asked that question? My video will come out soon. What happens to the Jews after Palestine is free? And nobody wanted to live with, nobody wanted to have any connection to them. It's really hard. It's really, really hard. So I don't see peace on the horizon. However, this is where the leaders do come in. We have no leaders who are advocating for peace. We do not. Neither side has in a long, long time. That's the role of the leader. The leader is there to tell the regular people it's okay to think this way in a peaceful way. And no one has done that in this country, in these two communities, for 20-something years, 25 years. And we need someone to stand up and lead us to peace, to give permission to those, because there are some people who do underneath really want this to end. They want it to have peace. Okay, I'll accept a certain price for that. They need people to say it's okay for them and to convince the others. And I don't see any of those people on the horizon, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I'm wondering if you can help us with asking this question to people on the street, whether
Absolutely.
on the Israeli side or I know that it's not safe on the Palestinian side right now.
It's hard. I was just there, and it was okay. But every few days, there's another shooting or something happens on the way. It's not so much in Ramallah, because I'm not Israeli in that sense. When I'm there, it's more of getting there, so I have to make sure it's safe. But I will do my best, yes.
Thank you very much. I'd love for our viewers to also see a part of the ASK project in Threads Culture Conversations.
Absolutely.
And with that, we can end this interview. It's been a pleasure, Corey, talking with you. It was great.
Thank you, Mehdi.
And yeah, we can just continue dreaming for a day that peace prevails.
I do. Can you imagine a future where Palestinians and Israelis live together in peace? And what would it look like?
Separated.
Separated, okay.
Yes.
But here we're in an Arab town, mixed town.
Yes.
Can they have to be separated too?
No, but they were born here.
Okay, so you mean West Bank and Gaza?
Yes.
Okay. So what does that mean? 2 states?
For me, yes.
Okay. So that's your answer to this?
Yeah.
Okay, and will you get along with Palestine,
If they have their own place,
Yeah.
and they don't interrupt me, yeah. They stay in their place and I stay in my place.
Can they come visit?
If they
And you
won't
can-
attack, yes.
Okay. And you could go visit there if you want.
I won't, but I won't.
You want to, but you won't.
Yes.
Okay. האם את יכולה לדמיין עתיד שבו פלסטינים וישראלים חיים יחד?
כן, בטח.
איך זה נראה? כאילו, שני מדינות, מדינה אחת.
מדינה אחת.
מדינה אחת עדיף?
כן.
ונסתדר?
כן.
ואת מוסלמית?
כן, איך שאנחנו בישראל היום.
כן? אוקיי. פשוט עם עזה ויהודה ושומרון, כמו שהיהודים קוראים לזה.
השטחים.
השטחים, כן. כולם שווים, כולם...
ככה זה צריך להיות, זה נקרא שלום.
והוא אומר מהצד...
אין בעיה.
אין בעיה, אין בעיה. רגע, אתם אחים או משהו?
לא, עובדים ביחד.
עובדים ביחד, הבנתי, בסדר. את יכולה לדמיין עתיד שבו פלסטינים וישראלים חיים יחד בשלום.
כן.
אוקיי, איך זה נראה, לפי דעתך?
איך זה ייראה? שאלה מעולה. מאמינה שאולי כשיפסיקו לריב על למי יש חלק של אדמה ולמי לא, ובאמת יאהבו את האנשים בגלל האנשים ויקבלו אחד את השני, זה יהיה אז.
יהיה משולבים כאילו, אנשים שכאילו ערבים פה, יהודים שם, בכל מיני מקומות?
כן, אין אפשרות להיות ביחד, חייבים להיות...
חייבים להיות בנפרד. אוקיי. אפילו שיש פה, אני רואה פה פועלים ערבים, כאילו.
כן, אבל זה יותר שעובדים, לא שגרים ביחד.
אז את מעדיפה שכולם גרים
כן,
בנפרד?
נראה לי פעם זה היה אחרת, היום כבר...
בגלל למה?
בגלל כל מה שקרה, זה לא...
אנשים שרואים לא מבינים אותך. בגלל כל האלימות.
אי אפשר למחוק את 7 באוקטובר. אי אפשר למחוק את 7 באוקטובר.
האם אתה יכול לדמיין עתיד שבו פלסטינים וישראלים חיים יחד בשלום.
הגעת בדיוק למקום הנכון. רמלה היא עיר שחיים בה מוסלמים, יהודים ונוצרים ביחד בשלום.
אוקיי. ואתה חושב שאפשר לעשות את זה עם עזתים, עם אלה מיהודה ושומרון?
מה שאתה רואה עכשיו אפשר לעשות הכל. ברגע שיש לך אנשים שמשתי הצדדים רוצים את השלום, זה שלום.
אוקיי. אתה רוצה? אתה אישי רוצה?
אני בטח שאני רוצה, אני חי איתם.
אתה רוצה להגיד משהו אחר? לא יודע. זה היה קצר מדי. הפתעת אותי.
גם קיבלת תשובה. אנחנו חיים פה כבר הרבה שנים באחווה ובאהבה, ונוצרים, מוסלמים, יהודים, ארמנים, כולנו חיים באהבה. כשיש רצון מכל הצדדים, אז הדברים קורים. בסך הכל זה תלוי בנו. את המקסימום אנחנו עושים. אבל פה אין פוליטיקה. פה יש חיים אמיתיים, שאתה קם בבוקר, הולך לבית ספר, פוגש את החבר שלך מוחמד, ופוגש את החבר שלך קסטיה, ופוגש את החבר שלך מכל מיני שמות שאתה תקרא. אנחנו חיים פה בטבעיות. הלוואי, אני מתפלל לאלוהים שזה מה שיקרה בסוף, שיהיה שלום עולמי, לא שלום בישראל.
אתה יכול לדמיין עתיד שבו ישראלים ופלסטינים גרים ביחד, גרים בשלום.
כן, אני מאמין בדבר כזה. אנחנו יכולים לעשות שלום. אני עכשיו עובד עם יהודים עובד אותי.
ואתה פלסטיני. להסביר שמישהו רואה.
כן, זה התשובה.
אוקיי. איך זה יראה? כאילו, אנחנו נגור ביחד, נגור בנפרד, רק לעבוד ביחד? איך אתה רוצה?
איך אני רוצה לחיות ביחד?
כן.
כן, בעבודה, בכל מה אנחנו עושים בחיים. אני הולך לבית חולים, אני רואה יהודים ורואה פלסטינים, נכון? אנחנו מה? יש דוקטור פלסטין ויש דוקטור יהודים ויש מטובל יהודים ויש מטובל פלסטין.
זה עכשיו.
כן, ואנחנו עושים, אם אנחנו יכולים לעשות בבית חולים כזה ובעבודה כזה, אנחנו יכולים לעשות בכל החיים.
אתה מוכן שיהיה לך שכן יהודי?
כן, יש לי שכן יהודי.
סליחה?
כן, אני גר בוואד אל-ג'וז.
אוקיי.
ואתה יודע, בשייח' ג'ראח יש יהודים ויש פלסטינים. שייח' ג'ראח 5 דקות מהבית שלי, ויש שכנים יהודים ויש שכנים פלסטינים.
ומסתדרים? אני יודע שיש בעיות בשייח' ג'ראח.
בשייח' ג'ראח יש בעיות, זה לא מסתדר.
ככה, אבל אני מסתדר. אין לי בעיה.
האם אתה יכול לדמיין עתיד שבו פלסטינים וישראלים חיים יחד בשלום?
יחד אנחנו יודעים מההיסטוריה שזה קצת מסובך. אחד ליד השני זה אחרת, וזה כנראה הפתרון שצריך להיות פה.
קצת הפרדה כאילו.
הפרדה, 2 מדינות, 2 עמים, זה החזון שאני מאמין בו כבר הרבה שנים.
אוקיי.
ואנחנו מתפללים שזה יתממש יום אחד.
אוקיי. הרוב הישראלים לא תומכים בזה.
אני לא יודע אם זה הרוב או לא הרוב.
זה בערך 20%, כרגע, היום.
יכול להיות, אני לא מכיר את הסטטיסטיקה הזאת. בחוגים שלי לפחות, אני יודע שרוב האנשים מאמינים בזה שאנחנו צריכים לחיות בשלום, הם לידינו, זה לצד זה, בשלום, באחווה, ולשגשג ביחד, כי זו השיטה היחידה שיכולה להצליח. עד עכשיו זה לא הלך. בשביל הדברים האלה צריך הנהגה חזקה, אמיתית ודוגמה טובה לכל הקהל, גם פה וגם שם, גם אצלם וגם אצלנו. אין לנו לא את זה ולא את זה. וזאת חלק מהבעיה. הפתרון הוא עם הנהגה מתאימה, תקום ותצליח לממש את החזון הזה. וזה אנחנו מתפללים.
אולי זה אתה.